Hey. Welcome to the Auspicious Wellness, Optimal Wellness Podcast. Come on in, have a virtual seat at the table. We are broadcasting live and in studio. We don't do ordinary, but we endeavor to bring you an extraordinary, and not only just extraordinary, but informative session. I call it the experience, the Auspicious Wellness Experience, which is evidence-based with clinical papers and research. This is your hour of wellness with the Auspicious Wellness crew. That would be me. My name is Deborah Smith-Torrance. I'm your host. I'm a certified life and health coach, a manufacturer in cannabinoid molecules, for short CBD. I'm an IT developer, certified WBE, MBE with the state of Indiana, and an XBE with the city of Indianapolis, and a supplier of medical supplies. So with that being said, top of the morning to you this Monday morning. I want to acknowledge my sister Letitia Jones, who passed on due to COVID. Girl, you know, I feel you sitting with me, smiling, saying, let's do this. That was our favorite word to each other. We're about the business. We were always about the business. Good morning, baby girl. I can feel you smiling right now with me. With that being said, hello world, wherever you are in the world, greetings. It's so good to just see you and hear you today and be back with you. So with that being said, I want to let you know we're broadcasting live in studio on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Alexa, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Deezer, Listen Note, Podbean, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Castro, Castbox, Podbean, Spreaker, Player FM, and FFmpg, and a whole bunch more. I would like to personally thank the listeners in countries all over the world and in my home country, the United States, who have been supporting the Auspicious Wellness, Optimal Wellness podcast. I want to give this disclaimer. This podcast is not intended to diagnose, treat, or claim a cure. If you need medical conditions or medical advice, please contact your medical provider. Today's podcast is here to bring awareness by pointing out 3 research papers and explain the discovery of the endocannabinoid system and the scientists who discovered the system. So with that being said, I want to welcome you back to the 5-part series of Detoxing the Body. And for those of you who missed the previous episodes of this series, number 1 was detoxing your mind. Number 2 was detoxing your body, circulatory and respiratory system detox. And part 3, the detoxing. It was about detoxing the system of the body with nutrition. And now, part 4, the endocannabinoid system, a newer system and the most interesting system newly discovered by science. Well, you know, when they say newly discovered, that could be 30, 40 years in comparison to the rest. This episode is intense. It is very well researched using clinical papers and research. This research will take you on a journey. Be prepared to listen. There are 3 interesting articles, which are clinical papers I will share and give you access to the research through the podcast page of this episode you are listening to. So with that being said, I always say, let's get to the business of the business. It's so good to be back with you this morning. You know, it takes me a minute when I'm doing heavy research. It might take me 2 weeks, almost 3 sometimes, to do research because I want to be thorough. I don't just want to do a podcast and just talk. That's not what I'm about. I'm really about bringing efficacy, and especially in the CBD industry, because that's one of the industries that I actually work in. That's one of the industry that I produce products for. That's one of the industries that I sell products, B2B and B2C. So it's very important to me to bring as much awareness as possible. So with that, I'm not going to say with that being said, I'm going to say let's get busy. So let's get started. I call this is something that's called the supreme system in the body, the endocannabinoid system and cannabinoid molecules. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I'm not the only one that's saying it. I'm really actually looking at clinical papers, clinical journals, research, and things of that nature, a well-researched research from all over the world. And it's really astounding when you get into it. Okay, so our bodies in science has always taught us about the systems of the body, anatomy. So that's where we're going to start at. excuse me, it taught us about our circulatory system, our pulmonary system, our skeletal system, our muscular system, our central nervous system. But there is another system. It's called the endocannabinoid system, the secret system, the ECS system. And you really, really, really should listen to this. It is a system totally unlike any other system in the human body. This system is supreme to all other systems in the body. The system is in control of all the rest of the other systems in the body. The system resides in all animals except for insects. Anything that has a spine, anything that actually has this has an endocannabinoid system, because we're just going to go a little bit deeper and deeper. I don't even want to explain this. This is a 600 million year old receptor system, which is responsible for the control of homeostasis, immunosurveillance. There's not a single function in your body which is not somehow influenced or modulated by the endocannabinoid system. This is your body's switchboard. It's a switchboard. Trust and believe, when I get into this more, you're going to understand. And then you'll have a much understanding of cannabinoid molecules, CBD, CBN. It's not just CBD. It's more than that. It's a lot more. THC, THCA. It's so many more. THCV, CBCV, CBT. There's not just one thing. It's so much more that has been discovered by scientists using science. So that's really important. Cannabinoid receptors are located throughout the body. They are in part of the endocannabinoid system. So when we say endo, that means inside of us. So that means what we have in us, which is involved in a variety of physiological processes, including appetite, pain, sensation, mood, memory. Cannabinoid receptors are a class of cell membranes receptors in the G protein couple receptor superfamily. But I'm going to try to keep this as simple as possible so you can really understand what it is that I'm saying. So let's kind of go to these switchboards and the indigenous cannabinoids. Let's just go, and that means something that we have already inside of us. The Cb1 receptors are primarily located on nerve cells in the brain. Listen to that very closely. Cb1 receptors are primarily located on nerve cells in the brain, spinal cord, but they are also found in some peripheral organs and tissues such as the spleen, the white blood cells, the endocrine gland, and part of the reproductive, gastrointestinal, and urinary tract. Okay? Think about what I just said. Think about white blood cells. Think about organs. Think about peripheral organs and tissue. Think about glands. Think about endocrine gland, okay? And parts of the reproductive, gastrointestinal, and urinary tracts. Think about that. Think about where all this is located to know that you have receptors in your body. Also, in the brain, the Cb1 receptors are abundant in cerebellum, basal ganglia, hippocampus, and dorsal primary afferent spinal cord regions, which is why cannabinoid influence functions such as memory process, pain regulation, and motor control in the brainstem. The concentration of cannabinoids is low, which may be related to why cannabis use is not associated with sudden death due to depressed respiration, for example. Okay, so just keep listening closely because it is astounding, the research that I'm going to share with you today. Now, that's CB1. Then we have CB2. There are two of them. CB2 receptors, cannabinoid receptors, are found mainly in the immune system with a heavy concentration in the spleen and in the gastrointestinal system. And you know how they say your gut is your health? And it is. But guess what? You have receptors in there as well. CB2 receptors bind best with the endocannabinoid 2, are involved in the regulation of appetite, immune system function like inflammation and pain management. And so this is some of what we're talking about these receptors, the endocannabinoid system, because if you think about what I just said, they're involved in the regulation of appetite. So sometimes when people smoke marijuana, they eat. That's part of it. They just keep eating. And then sometimes, you've got your immune system functions like inflammation and pain management. And so I want you to think about that. I want you to think about when you when you're using products like CBD products, and people, you can't make claims. You cannot. You just have to follow the science. But I'm trying to get you to understand the science of formulations, of what it means. Scientists are on the cusp of determining a third type of cannabinoid receptor for CBN, but research in this area is ongoing and inconclusive as of now. So soon, they're still studying. And then once that you get to find out who these people really are, because I'm going to unveil the scientists to you who first discovered the system. So let's keep going. So let's talk about a couple of things that people are a little confused about. THC, tetrahydrocannabinol, is one of at least 113 cannabinoids identified in cannabis. THC is a principal psychoactive constituent of cannabis, with chemical names as trans-A, tetrahydrocannabinol. The term THC also refers to cannabinoid isomers. So listen, what I'm trying to get you to understand, THC is a separate cannabinoid. Then CBD is totally separate. CBD, cannabidiol. CBD is a cannabis compound that has significant medical benefits but does not make people feel stoned and can actually counteract the psychoactivity of THC by CBD dominant. We mean strains or products that are CBD rich but are very little THC content. Actually, I'm going to share something else with you. There actually are some clinical journals about CBD actually helping to, when people are on drugs, drug-induced cravings, there's actual papers that have been published with CBD stopping the drug-induced cravings and slowing them down. And there's research papers on that as well. And that blew me away. Okay. And this is an ongoing study. This is for opioid use. And it's an ongoing study. I remember having the judges summoning me to come to Atlanta to explain CBD. And I did. I went there. I went to the courtroom. And it wasn't like I was summoned, I was in trouble. I was just summoned. And I was there to help them with a workshop. And with my presentation in the workshop, my part was drug-induced cravings and CBD. That's what mine was. And it was science. There are actual double-blind placebo studies on that. And that's what I introduced. Okay, so let's go back again. CBN, cannabinoid, has a variety of medicinal properties that make it well worth understanding. It has the potential to treat a variety of problems from healing bones to helping you sleep. And this is still science. CBN is produced when THC is heated or exposed to oxygen. This is all science. It's not me just sitting here just saying these things. I'm following the science papers and things of that nature. Scientists have discovered now listen to this, it is not just THC, it's not just CBD, there's CBG, there's different ones, there's all different type of, there's THCA, THCV, there's CBN, there's a lot of different cannabinoids. As a matter of fact, over 113 different cannabinoids in the cannabis plant through science have been discovered. And they're working to see what these different cannabinoids, what part of the body do they work on? What part of how does it work in conjunction with the endocannabinoid system, which we already have? And so we have cannabinoids, and then we have phytocannabinoids, which come from the plant. And then we have our own indigenous cannabinoid system that cannabinoids connect to, phytocannabinoids connect to when we take CBD, THC, CBN, things of that nature, CBG. When we take those things, this is what kind of comes out of it. And so that's where science is at. So I was reading even more. And this is, what is the clinical endocannabinoid deficiency syndrome? So let's go deeper. There's another study about the endocannabinoid deficiency syndrome.